She waited a lifetime. Every sunrise reminded her of hope. Every sunset whispered the ache of longing. Yet, when the truth finally arrived, it was too late. What she had waited for, dreamed of, and believed in her entire life revealed itself only after years of heartache. Today, we tell the story of Evelyn Harper, a woman from a small town in Vermont whose patience and loyalty were unmatched, but whose life became a haunting lesson about timing, choices, and the fragile nature of truth. Evelyn grew up in Burlington, a city known for its gentle streets, autumn leaves, and the quiet hum of Lake Champlain. She was a bright child, with eyes that seemed to capture the depth of every sunset and a smile that could warm even the coldest winter day. Yet, beneath her calm exterior, there was a longing yearning that even she did not fully understand at first. It was a quiet desire to be understood, to be cherished, and to love deeply in return. Her youth was marked by simplicity, family dinners at the Harper household, and the occasional stroll to the local bookstore, where she would lose herself in stories far beyond her small town. But it was in high school that Evelyn first met him, Michael Reynolds. Michael was charming, confident, and undeniably magnetic. He had a way of speaking that made people feel seen, even when they felt invisible. And Evelyn, in her gentle, thoughtful way, felt herself drawn to him almost instantly. Their friendship began innocently enough, as friendships often do. Michael and Evelyn would spend hours talking about books, dreams, and the future. He listened to her quietly, with an intensity that made her feel special. And though they were only 16, something between them began to simmer a connection, neither fully understood, but both silently acknowledged. High school passed in a blur of exams, dances, and graduation ceremonies. Through it all, Evelyn waited. She waited for Michael to realize what she already knew, that their bond was extraordinary, that it was something rare and beautiful. But Michael, ambitious and restless, had his eyes set on a future far beyond Burlington. After graduation, he left for New York City to pursue a career in finance, promising to write and visit whenever he could. Evelyn kept her promise to wait. Letters came at first, handwritten notes that spoke of longing and memories. But slowly, the letters became fewer, shorter. Years passed. Evelyn's life moved forward in small, steady steps. She pursued a degree in literature, began teaching at a local high school, and built a life that, on the surface, seemed full and happy. Yet, beneath the surface, the ache for Michael never left her. She watched as her friends married, had children, and moved on. But Evelyn remained tethered to a memory, a dream of a love that had never fully materialized. She told herself it was hope, but deep down, it was more than that. It was faith. Faith that one day Michael would return, that one day she would finally understand the truth of what they could have been. Life, as it often does, moved in unpredictable ways. Evelyn's routine was punctuated by moments of joy and sorrow. One spring morning, now in her late 40s, she received a message that would shake the foundation of her world. It was from Michael Lohr, someone claiming to know him. A name she had not heard in decades now resurfaced, bringing with it a mixture of fear, anticipation, and disbelief. The message was simple, yet cryptic. "Evelyn, I need to tell you the truth. Can we meet in New York? There's something you need to know." Her heart raced. After decades of silence, after years of wondering and imagining, he was reaching out. She booked the earliest flight, her mind spinning with questions and possibilities. What truth could be so important that it had waited all these years to be revealed? What had changed that he could no longer wait another moment? Upon arriving in New York, Evelyn found Michael at a small cafe in Manhattan. He looked older, his hair touched with silver, his eyes still holding that magnetic charm, but now shadowed by the weight of years and regret. The moment their eyes met, decades of unspoken words and suppressed emotions seemed to collapse into silence. "Evelyn," Michael began, his voice trembling, "there's so much I need to tell you." And then the story unfolded, a story that Evelyn had never imagined, a story of choices made, sacrifices forced, and truths hidden for reasons too complex and too painful to reveal until now. Michael explained how he had loved her deeply, but his life had taken him down paths he could not abandon. Ambition, family pressures, and a secret that had haunted him from his youth had kept him away. Every letter he had meant to send, every call he had meant to make, had been derailed by circumstances beyond his control. Evelyn listened, heart pounding, tears welling in her eyes. The truth finally revealed, was both cathartic and cruel. She realized that she had not been forgotten, but that timing, fate, and choices had conspired against them. She had waited a lifetime only to discover that some truths, no matter how profound, arrived too late. As Michael spoke, Evelyn saw the man she had once known, the man she had loved, but also the stranger, shaped by decades of decisions and regrets. And she understood that love, though powerful, is sometimes powerless in the face of life's unpredictable currents. In that cafe, in the heart of Manhattan, Evelyn faced a choice: to cling to the past or to release it. The pain was immense, but so was the clarity. She realized that her waiting, her hope, and her faith had not been in vain. They had shaped her into the woman she had become, resilient, wise, and compassionate. And though the truth had come too late, it came in time for her to finally let go. Evelyn left New York with a bittersweet heart, carrying memories, lessons, and a newfound understanding of herself. She returned to Burlington, where the lake glimmered under the afternoon sun. And for the first time in decades, she felt unburdened. She had waited a lifetime, yes, but in that waiting, she had lived, loved, and learned. And perhaps that was the truth that mattered most. This story is a reminder that life does not always unfold the way we imagine. Love, timing, and truth are unpredictable, and sometimes the answers we seek arrive not when we hope, but when we are ready. Evelyn's journey teaches us that patience is both a gift and a test, that waiting can shape us, and that even when the truth comes too late, it can still bring understanding, closure, and peace. And so, as you watch the world rush past, remember Evelyn Harper and the lifetime she waited. Remember that life's answers may be delayed, but the journey, the waiting, the hoping, the growing is what truly defines us. A childhood full of quiet dreams. Evelyn Harper was born in Burlington, Vermont, on a crisp October morning. Her childhood was one of quiet charm, filled with maple-scented autumns and snowy winters, where the entire town seemed to huddle together against the cold. She grew up in a modest home on Pearl Street, surrounded by books, photographs, and the laughter of her younger brother, Thomas. Her parents, Margaret and Robert Harper, were kind, gentle people, devoted to their children, and instilled in Evelyn a strong sense of integrity, empathy, and hope. Even as a little girl, Evelyn was introspective. She would often sit by the window, gazing at Lake Champlain as it shimmered in the morning light, imagining worlds far beyond Burlington. Books became her escape, her teachers, and her friends. She devoured stories of distant lands, tragic loves, and heroes who conquered impossible odds. But while she explored these worlds on the page, she also sensed a void in her own life, quiet longing she could not name. The first spark. High school brought new experiences, friendships, and the subtle stirrings of first love. It was during her sophomore year that she met Michael Reynolds. Michael was magnetic in a way that made people notice him without even trying. He had dark hair that seemed to catch the sunlight, eyes that were unnervingly perceptive, and a smile that drew people in. But it wasn't just his appearance. It was his attentiveness, his curiosity, and the way he seemed to truly see Evelyn as she was. Their connection began slowly with shared lunches, quiet conversations in the library, and long walks through the falling leaves of Burlington's parks. Michael had dreams that stretched far beyond their small town. He wanted to see New York, to make a name for himself in the bustling city, to leave behind the confines of small-town life. Evelyn, in contrast, felt a deep attachment to her roots. She loved the calm, the predictability, and the sense of community. But despite their differences, something unspoken formed between them, a delicate bond that grew stronger with each passing day. Evelyn's heart swelled with feelings she couldn't yet name, and though she tried to hide her longing, Michael seemed to sense it. He often looked at her with a mix of curiosity and warmth, never fully crossing the line from friendship to love, but never pulling away either. The graduation arrived with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Michael had been accepted to a prestigious finance program in New York City, and the day came when he would leave Burlington behind. The farewell was bittersweet. Evelyn handed him a small notebook filled with handwritten thoughts, poems, and sketches, a gift to remind him of her. "I'll write to you," Michael promised, embracing her tightly. "I won't forget," Evelyn nodded, her throat tight. She wanted to believe him, to cling to hope, and so she did. She waited for the letters, for the calls, for any sign that their bond was as strong for him as it was for her. letters, and silence. The first letters arrived promptly. They were filled with excitement. Stories of New York's crowded streets, tall buildings, and endless opportunities. Michael wrote about the friends he was making, the challenges he faced, and his yearning for home. But amidst the words, there was always a line or two dedicated to Evelina, reminder that no matter where he was, she remained in his thoughts. But as months turned into years, the letters became infrequent. They arrived less often, and eventually stopped altogether. Phone calls were rare, interrupted by the demands of his career. Evelyn's heart ached, but she continued to wait. She clung to hope, imagining that Michael's silence was temporary, a result of the chaos of life in the city. In the meantime, Evelyn built her own life. She attended the University of Vermont, studying literature. She became a beloved teacher, respected for her kindness, patience, and dedication. Her students adored her, and she poured herself into nurturing young minds, all while her heart quietly ached for a man who had become a ghost in her life. Life moves on. Evelyn's life unfolded like the chapters of a book. She experienced small joys and quiet sorrows. She traveled occasionally, visited art galleries in Boston, and took walks along the lake, always thinking of what might have been. Friends married, had children, and moved away, but Evelyn remained steadfast, tethered to a memory, a dream of love unfulfilled. Romance came and went, but Evelyn's heart could never fully open. She compared every man to Michael, and none measured up. She told herself it was hope that kept her waiting, but deep down, it was faith. Faith that one day, Michael would return, and the truth of their connection would finally be revealed. A message after decades. Then, one spring morning, decades later, Evelyn received an email that shook her world. It was from Michael Lohr, someone claiming to know him. "Evelyn, I need to tell you the truth. Can we meet in New York? There's something you need to know." Her heart raced. After 40 years of silence, after decades of wondering and imagining, he was reaching out. She booked the earliest flight, her mind spinning with questions, fears, and hope. The city that had once felt like a distant dream now became the stage for a reunion she had imagined countless times. Evelyn arrived in New York, her heart pounding, her palms clammy with anticipation. The reunion. They met in a small cafe in Manhattan, the kind of place where the aroma of coffee mingled with the chatter of strangers and the soft hum of life. Michael sat at a corner table, older hair touched with gray, but his eyes still held that magnetic charm that had captivated Evelyn so many years ago. "Evelyn," he said, his voice trembling, "there's so much I need to tell you." And then, slowly, painfully, the story unfolded. Michael had loved her all along, but his life had taken paths he could not abandon. Family obligations, ambition, and a secret burden from his youth had kept him away. Every letter he intended to send, every call he meant to make, had been derailed by circumstances beyond his control. Evelyn listened, tears streaming down her face. The truth was both cathartic and cruel. She realized that she had not been forgotten, yet timing, fate, and choices had conspired against them. She had waited a lifetime for answers, and now they had come but too late. The pain and the clarity, the cafe became a place of revelation. Michael shared stories of his life, the mistakes he made, the opportunities he missed, and the love he never could fully claim. Evelyn felt the weight of years pressing down on her heart, yet also a strange sense of clarity. She saw the man she had once loved, the man she had imagined for decades, but also a stranger shaped by choices, regrets, and the relentless passage of time. She understood that love, though powerful, is sometimes powerless against life's unpredictable currents. The choice to let go. Evelyn faced a decision. She could cling to the past, to what might have been, or she could release it, carrying the lessons and memories forward without being trapped by them. The pain was immense, yet the clarity was liberating. She realized that her waiting, her hope, and her faith had not been wasted. They had shaped her into a resilient, wise, and compassionate woman. Though the truth had come too late, it arrived in time for her to finally let go, to understand herself, and to honor the life she had built. Returning home, Evelyn returned to Burlington, where the lake glimmered under the afternoon sun. She walked the familiar streets, feeling the gentle breeze, the warmth of old friendships, and the comfort of home. For the first time in decades, she felt unburdened. She had waited a lifetime, yes, but in that waiting, she had lived fully, loved deeply, and grown stronger than she had ever imagined. Life, she realized, was not defined solely by answers, timing, or fulfillment of every dream. It was defined by how we navigate the waiting, the longing, and the quiet moments of reflection. Evelyn's journey was a testament to patience, faith, and the enduring strength of the human heart. Lessons from a lifetime of waiting, Evelyn Harper's story teaches us that life does not always unfold as we hope. Love, timing, and truth are unpredictable, and sometimes the answers we seek arrive not when we want them, but when we are ready. Waiting, though painful, shapes us. It teaches resilience, empathy, and understanding. It reveals the depth of our capacity to love and endure. And even when the truth arrives too late, it can bring clarity, closure, and peace. Evelyn's journey reminds us that life's timing is beyond our control, but our response to it is entirely ours. We may not always get the ending we dream of, but we can grow, we can learn, and we can find meaning in the journey itself. Final reflection. As the sun sets over Lake Champlain, Evelyn sits on the bench she often visited in her youth, reflecting on a lifetime of waiting, love, and lessons. She understands now that some truths are delayed, some loves are unfulfilled, and some dreams remain just out of reach. But she also understands that life's beauty lies in its imperfection, in the waiting and in the growth that comes from patience and hope. She waited a lifetime, and the truth came too late. But in that waiting, she discovered something even more profound: the strength of her own heart, the depth of her own resilience, and the timeless value of love that, though unclaimed, shaped her life forever. And as night falls, Evelyn smiles softly, knowing that she lived, she loved, and she waited not in vain, but in the quiet, enduring grace of a heart that never stopped believing.